I'm Melissa Case from Hat to Hem, and today I'm quarantined. So, say you, like me, are stuck at home because of COVID-19, like most of the world right now. And say you also kinda want a break from YouTube. Not that you shouldn't be watching YouTube content, you absolutely should, but say you want a break. Say you want to be able to just lose yourself in a big story for a couple of hours. Well, I have some suggestions to make. I'm guessing that if you're watching this video, you like pretty dresses. Well, I too like pretty dresses, in case you haven't noticed. What you may not know is that my husband is a big time movie buff. We have a lot of DVDs in this house. A lot. As a result of his love of the movies and my love of pretty dresses, between the two of us, we have a nice sized collection of costume dramas. In addition to our DVD collection, we also have Amazon Prime, Netflix, we have Hulu, but I don't think anything on Hulu made this list. We have a lot of options to keep ourselves busy. And I thought it might be fun to share some of those options with you. Now, I'm going to make a really big effort to stay away from the ones that we already know and have seen all over the place, like Downton Abbey or Pride and Prejudice 1995. We all know they're great. Most of us love them. And for that reason, I want to kind of give attention to the ones that don't get as much love. Maybe not love, attention? Recognition? Let me put it this way. I want to mention some that either you don't know exist or you may have forgotten exist. Now, some of these can be streamed, some of them can be rented or bought online, some of them might be collecting dust on your DVD shelves. Now, my plan is I'll tell you where you can find these, and I might also try and put a couple links down in my description so you can buy them if that's something you're interested in. Now, I'm only going to list a couple of the options where you can find these. You can find a bit more of a list over at justwatch.com. Now, you may say, oh, you mentioned this one, but you didn't mention that one. Well, I'm trying to keep this list a little diverse. I'm trying not to go with too many by the same author, I guess. For instance, if I were to mention Pride and Prejudice, I probably would not mention Sense and Sensibility because I already named one by Jane Austen. Though I am trying to avoid Jane Austen because I think we already all know her adaptations. You know, I meant for this to be a shortish kind of video, but I wanted to type out all my thoughts so I didn't ramble too much, and I ended up with what was essentially a 9-page essay. So, yeah. I just have a lot of feelings and a lot of DVDs. But before we get to these options, let's talk about one that's available for streaming. Who doesn't love Anne Shirley? Since Lucy Maud Montgomery's book was published in 1908, the lovable, imaginative Anne Shirley has worked her way into the hearts of kindred spirits. The charming 8-book series follows Anne from childhood to motherhood, but by far the most well-known book is Anne of Green Gables. Now, I'm such a fan of this series. My husband and I actually visited Prince Edward Island while we were on our honeymoon in Canada. Now, we were there for a few days and we actually got to visit Green Gables. We also visited several Anne and Lucy Maud Montgomery related museums, so we love Anne in this household. Now, this book has been adapted a lot, and I mean a lot. It's also been adapted to the stage a couple times. If you happen to be in the Charlottetown area, I would highly recommend seeing Anne and Gilbert the musical. We saw it while we were on our honeymoon, and we absolutely loved it, though maybe wait until we're not having a pandemic. Now, I, like everyone, am a huge fan of the 1985 adaptation with Megan Follows. Now, I'm also a big fan of the sequel, which is loosely based off of Anne of Avonlea, Anne of the Island, and Anne of Windy Poppers. Yes, all three. It's condensed, but it works. I don't acknowledge the third movie. However, I'm not here to talk about that adaptation this time. Today, I want to talk about Anne with an E. I don't have the words to properly describe how much I love this series. Yes, it's different. Yes, it's a looser adaptation than we're probably used to, but it is gorgeous. Costumes, the lighting, the sets, the casting. Oh my goodness, the casting! Everything is just perfect. Perfect is a strong word. It's subjective. For me, it's perfect. They do take a lot of liberties with the story, but honestly, when you're watching it, it doesn't matter. All the key beats are there, whether it's a liniment cake or dyeing her hair green. It just doesn't always show up in the ways you expect, which is okay. So many different characters get new storylines or expanded storylines, and the new characters that they create just for the show are interesting and kind of wonderful. I personally really love Bash and just everything about him. Now, this show doesn't try to mimic the 1985 version. It's really just out there to be its own thing, and I appreciate that, especially given how many different adaptations there's been. We have our perfect one already. We can afford to take a different take on things. I also think it's pretty interesting to see a different interpretation of these characters. For instance, Anne is still just as imaginative and romantic as she is in the books and in the other adaptation. But instead of being kind of soft and dreamy, she's a little bit more manic and just joyful. And I think both versions are true to how Anne is. Now, there are some more adult themes involved. They definitely kind of play up the trauma that Anne went through early in life, which is completely understandable. And honestly, the things that she goes through and the things that she reacts to and the things that she knows are all honestly what I consider to be kind of realistic. So if you're watching with young children, you might be uncomfortable. You might have to have some weird conversations. So I would say this is probably more in the PG-13 territory. If you want the PG version, watch the 1985 one. This version of the story is fresh and relatable, and there's humor, there's heartbreak. I don't really know how to describe it. It's almost as if the books were the Edwardian kid-approved version of the story, and this is more what really happened. If that makes sense. Anyway, I love it. You should watch it. It's on Netflix, all 3 seasons. And hopefully you enjoy it as much as I did. Okay, so we already started with A, so let's just keep going alphabetically. That means next up is Austenland. This one makes the list because it's just fun. And honestly, who wouldn't want to go to an immersive costume drama themed resort? That just sounds like a good time. We're very dramatic. Both is good. Austenland is about Jane, who spends her life savings to go to an immersive Jane Austen themed resort. Unfortunately, all she can afford is the copper package, so she's basically a Jane Austen heroine with a Jane Eyre financial situation. She and 2 other guests are partnered up with men representing various hero archetypes, so of course there's a romance subplot. It stars Kerry Russell, Jane Seymour, Jennifer Coolidge, and J.J. Field. Many different period drama tropes are played for laughs. I particularly enjoyed all the fake animals that they have around. The costumes are fun and, for the most part, surprisingly accurate for something this lighthearted. They're not perfect, but they definitely could have been worse. I mean, this movie is just fun, and it's filled with cliches and some slapstick, but sometimes you're just in the mood for that. Austenland is available to rent or buy on Amazon Prime, YouTube, Google Play, or DirecTV. Oh, I actually got that list right. Alright, so this next one is just pure classic fairy tale without the fairies. Ever After. Yeah, the only time I've ever seen this cover was on this particular DVD. I feel like they usually have a different cover. I feel like Ever After is one of those gateway costume dramas for my generation. I don't think there's a costume lover alive who watched this movie and didn't want that breathe gown. Ugh, that breathe gown. I still want to make it. I mean, it would take up probably a year and all of my business funds, but I still want to make that dress. It's just so pretty and so detailed. I should probably talk about the movie, right? Set mostly in France in 1502, Ever After is a retelling of Cinderella, where Cindy, or Danielle as she's named in this adaptation, is brave and strong and outspoken against injustice. Also, instead of fairy godmother, she has Leonardo da Vinci. I swear it makes sense in context. I'm pretty sure we all know the story of Cinderella, so I'm not going to linger on the plot. Instead, let's linger on the costumes. Despite being set in France, most of the costumes are Italian Renaissance, and I am perfectly okay with that. I absolutely love the Italian Renaissance style. I just think it's one of the loveliest, most romantic gown styles you can have. Fancy sleeves, flowy skirts, I'm sold. I would happily wear every costume Danielle wears in this film, including her blue work gown. For some extra fun, the stepmother's gowns have more of a Saxon influence, so if you like extra fancy sleeves, she has you covered. I don't have that much more to say, so I'm just gonna throw in more pictures of the gowns. They're just so lovely. Okay, I'm watching Ever After as soon as I'm done this video. So Ever After is rated PG-13, and that's mainly because of language, and honestly, it's mild enough that I didn't notice it. You can make the argument that I'm desensitized to bad language now after Game of Thrones, but honestly, I don't even remember noticing the bad language when I was watching this recently or when I was watching it when I was younger. I'd probably put it closer to PG, but use your discretion. Now you can stream Ever After if you have one of those subscription-y based channels like HBO or Cinemax. Or you can rent it or buy it on Amazon, YouTube, Google Play, and there's a bunch of other options for this one. It's out there. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one if you're into the nice romance and pretty gowns and light social justice themes. This next one is one of my favorite series. It's the Forsyte Saga. It's just so dramatic. It's based off of the novels by John Galsworthy, and it ran for 2 seasons. The first season covered his books A Man of Property, Indian Summer of a Forsyte, and In Chancery. The second season, which is half the length of the first, only covers the 4th book, To Let. The story was also adapted in a film in 1949 titled That Forsyte Woman, and it was also adapted into a 26-episode series in 1967. It covers 3 generations of an extremely wealthy, working, upper-middle-class family. Wow, that's a mouthful. The story starts with young Jolyon, played by Rupert Graves, running away with his daughter's governess. And he's one of the good characters. The main plot is all about Soames Forsyte and his possessive love for Irene Heron, played respectively by Damian Lewis and Gina McKee. But as a big family saga, that's only one of the plots. The whole story is full of secret love affairs, money problems, and marriage problems. I know, that doesn't exactly sound like a good time. But this family is just so dramatic, you're gonna want to wish you had a bucket of popcorn while you're just getting lost in their drama. Now, I love a show that has a lot of characters and takes place over a long period of time. I especially love when the costumes and the hairstyles actually show the passage of time. This show takes place between the 1870s and the 1920s. So yeah, that's a big difference. Now, there is a time jump, so we do kind of miss out on natural form years, but you actually see a difference between the 2 bustle eras, which I think is very exciting. You also see the sleeves expand and then deflate during the 1890s. It really doesn't take a lot to make me happy. The gowns themselves are pretty standard, all things considered, but I just like seeing the changes in fashion. And there are a couple little fun moments with some of the costuming choices. Like there's one gown that Irene wears that uses the exact same fabric as Christine Daae in Phantom of the Opera, the stage show, not the movie. There's also a gown that Irene wears that I actually thought looked a little bit modern, and then I realized it was actually based on the portrait of Madame X by John Singer Sargent, which was painted in the mid-1880s. So, looks a little out of place, but it is accurate. Heads up, there are some unpleasant scenes in this series. I mean, people die throughout the show, and sometimes it's normal in bed, decent kind of death, and sometimes it's so and so got run over by a carriage and we're gonna show you it. You can tell that death stuck with me. There's also a major plot point that was also in the books, but maybe triggering for some people, in the same way that Anna's storyline in season 4 of Downton Abbey may be triggering for people. That's the best I can do, I'm sorry. It does affect the rest of the show, so it's not like it's a one-off thing. I mean, there are definite clear consequences for this moment. So you could skip the actual scene, but you're it's very prevalent. So yeah, this one's not for kids. So you've been warned. The Forsyte Saga is available to buy on Amazon Prime. It was on Netflix for a while, so maybe it'll come back eventually. But yeah, if you want a series that's just all drama and craziness, Forsyte Saga. I don't have a DVD for this one, because this one is on HBO. Many of you may have already seen it. I hope you did, because I love the series. But this next one is Gentleman Jack. Now, hopefully you didn't miss this series, but if you did, I highly recommend it. Set in the 1830s, Gentleman Jack is also known as Anne Lister, and she's amazing. She's intelligent and witty and easily the most interesting woman in town. She's a landowner and a landlord who collects her own rent. She goes toe-to-toe with men who are stealing her coal, which is just really incredible. The main plot, however, is about her blossoming romance with Anne Walker, who is a wealthy heiress who just came to town. And the best part, this series is actually based off of Anne Lister's real-life diaries. She was a real person. This actually happened. Honestly, this series just felt custom-made for me. It follows a very capable and independent main character who is queer, which I just think is refreshing. And honestly, these costumes are gorgeous! 1830s style had to grow on me, but now I am all for it. There are also little stylistic quirks with this show, like breaking the fourth wall, which I always enjoy. The music is just upbeat, which is really fun. And the song that plays over the end credits is fantastic. If I loved this series less, I might be able to talk about it more. But for now, I'll just leave it there. You can stream Gentleman Jack on HBO, or you can buy it on Amazon or Google Play. I think it's time I add a classic movie musical to this list. And my choice for this category is Gigi. Gigi. The lesser-known cousin of American in Paris, My Fair Lady, and so many different movie musicals of the 50s. Now I'm the first to admit, Gigi did not age well. You will cringe when you hear a 70-year-old man sing "Thank Heaven for Little Girls" because little girls get bigger every day. I'm not saying this film isn't kind of creepy. I'm saying I love it despite the creepiness. I'm not doing a good job selling this, am I? Gigi is based off of the 1944 novella by Colette. Yes, the Colette from the newish Keira Knightley movie, which I honestly enjoyed very much and is available on Amazon Prime. It's about, and there's really no way to sugarcoat this, it's about a girl who's being trained to be a rich man's mistress. I originally thought they were training her to be a rich man's wife, so honestly, realizing they were training her to be a mistress made the whole thing a little bit more interesting. Maybe that's just me. Gigi is following in the family tradition to be a courtesan, following in the footsteps of her grandmother and her great aunt. So, Gigi is being taught etiquette and charm so she can have a secure future, both socially and economically. Gigi, however, is not interested and doesn't understand what the fuss is about. It's a lot of fun to see her transformation from a young girl to an elegant young lady without compromising who she really is. This movie is just so glamorous. The costumes and the sets are very 50s movie musical, so they kind of toe the line between elegant and over the top. The movie was designed by Cecil Beaton, who also did the designs for My Fair Lady, and yes, he's also the photographer who does all the royal portraits as portrayed in The Crown. Same man. So yeah, between those two things, that should give you a pretty decent idea what the style of this film is. Honestly, I would kind of love to do an early 1900s costume by way of the 1950s. It's really just a style unto itself. I liked this movie when I saw it a couple years ago for the first time, and I've just kind of enjoyed it more and more every time I viewed it. You just have to get past the creepiness and enjoy the spectacle. Kinda like Cats. I'm probably in the minority for that. Oh, and for the record, when they brought Gigi back to Broadway in 2015, they changed it so that the Thank Heaven for Little Girls song was sung by Gigi's grandmother and great aunt, and it was a lot less creepy. Gigi is available to stream on DirecTV, or you can rent and buy it on Amazon, Google Play, or YouTube. Okay, back to my DVD collection. Up next, I have Gosford Park. Take Downton Abbey, add Agatha Christie, and throw in a pinch of Harry Potter actors and you get Gosford Park. Also written by Julian Fellowes, Gosford Park from 2001 also deals with both the upstairs gentry and the downstairs servants. In fact, Downton Abbey was meant to be a spin-off of Gosford Park before becoming a standalone series. Set in 1932, the story takes place during a weekend shooting party at a country estate called, surprise surprise, Gosford Park. There's a lot of intrigue and people acting suspiciously, and then before the weekend is up, someone has been murdered. I won't give it away though. I spent the first half of this movie trying to figure out who was going to get killed, and I spent the second half of the movie trying to figure out who did it. I enjoyed this movie for the same reason I enjoyed Downton Abbey. It's a lot of fun seeing the class dynamics at play, and in case you haven't noticed, I like getting caught up in fictional rich people's fictional drama. Most of all, it's a lot of fun to watch Maggie Smith be sassy. This cast list is insane. First off, you have a ton of Harry Potter actors. Yes, I know they've been in other things and they're more well known for other things, but once you're in Harry Potter, you're a Harry Potter actor. At least in my eyes. Alright, let's go. First off, we have Minerva McGonagall, Albus Dumbledore, Lily Potter, Helena Ravenclaw, Mafalda Hopkirk, and the narrator from the British audiobooks who isn't technically a character but totally counts anyway. And I know most of the rest of the cast from other things as well. I won't tell you who everybody is though, in case you like having those, hey, it's that guy moments like I do. But let me put it this way. There are so many famous British actors in this movie, the poster was pretty much just a list of names. You can stream Gosford Park for free if you have Showtime, or you can rent and buy it on Amazon Prime, Google Play, and many, many other options. I almost didn't do this one because I thought it might be a little too mainstream. But honestly, I don't think this adaptation was particularly mainstream, so I'm going to do it anyway. Up next, Little Women. Yes, I know. Another Little Women. Everyone has their favorite Little Women. I'm not even talking the characters, I'm talking the adaptations. Everybody has their favorite. Modernists love the latest one with Saoirse Ronan. Purists love the 1994 one with Winona Ryder. Many love the older adaptations as well. No one ever seems to remember the modern day one that came out after this miniseries but before the Greta Gerwig one. Oh! And I also have to mention the musical because I love Sutton Foster and the musical is great. But my personal favorite Little Women adaptation is the one that aired in the UK in 2017 and on PBS in 2018. So, what makes this particular adaptation of Little Women so special to me? Well, I'm glad you didn't ask. My favorite part about this is the characters. I know, it's the same characters in all of them, but bear with me. Because it's a miniseries, there's time to flesh out all of the characters instead of just making this Joe's story. Though I will say, Maya Hawke is a fantastic Jo. I feel like the other adaptations I see don't really play up her awkward, gawky, clumsy side enough, but this adaptation really nailed that aspect of her character. And like, the little details from the book when she breaks her shoelace on the day everyone is all out of sorts, or she forces a pillow between her and Laurie, were just such small moments, but they were so good! I love how they show Meg and John Brooks actually having a conversation before they got engaged. I love that they showed that she wasn't sure about if she wanted to accept that proposal or not. I love how Beth's shyness comes across more like social anxiety. I don't particularly like Amy. Not Amy in general, just this particular Amy, I wasn't a fan. It just didn't work. She just came across as like she was purposely putting on a little girl act instead of actually being immature. I kind of like the way Florence Pugh did better in the newer one, but I don't want to turn this into a big this one versus that one video. If you do want that video, let me know, but I'm going to try and not go in that direction. For me, this series is more than just the sisters. I also enjoy how warm and funny and supportive and just maternal Marmee was. Emily Watson did a fantastic job. And they do have that scene where she talks about having a temper. And you actually get to see her leave the room and kind of like press her lips together, which I thought was kind of a fun touch. Weirdly, for a series called Little Women, I really like the way that they portrayed the men in the series. Normally, except for Laurie, the men are kind of just pushed aside. So it was really nice to see them actually doing things. Like, you actually see Mr. March while he's away. And when he comes back, he has some scenes afterwards. He's not just some prop in the background. He's actually giving Jo advice on her book. You see him working in the garden. You see him complaining about wedding planning because fair. As a character, he's usually more defined by his absence. It was really nice to see him actually have a presence in this miniseries. And like John Brooke, he just seems so nice and so decent, and I just want him to be happy. And this is the only adaptation where Professor Bear actually matches his book counterpart. Yes, he's Gren from Game of Thrones, but it works! His watch has ended and now he's a professor. It happens. Sorry. And of course, there's Laurie. I might get hate for this, but this is actually my favorite Laurie. Yes, I'm a sucker for his dimples, but I felt like he was a good combination of jolly and moody. He has a good heart, but he's a bit spoiled, and that's just who Laurie is. You really have to get why he and Jo might be an appealing option, but they also just don't work. And I feel like that came across in this series, and that makes me happy. And also, his hair changes a lot during it. That's a really random thing to be excited about, but I am excited about it. You see, in the book, he grows his hair out a little bit because Jo likes it longer. And then later in the series, after he's been rejected, his hair is shorter. And I just think that's great. I think we can all relate to having some kind of big emotional thing happening in our lives that led to a semi-impulsive haircut. I've been talking about Little Women a lot. Let me just kind of round this up by talking about the costumes. I'm not a fan of 1860s costumes. I'm just not. They're not that interesting to me. However, I do like how the costumes in this series look like they're homemade, and they also reflect the characters without being too over the top. I also love how it felt like they had a limited wardrobe. This might not bother other people, but there are some times where I'm just like, aren't you guys like poor? Why do you have 1700 dresses? So it was kind of fun to be able to see Amy's bridesmaid dress being her best visiting dress later on, you know? It's just, those little things just really make it feel more alive and realistic, and I appreciate that. There are some very nice gowns in this series, but for the most part, I feel like the costumes kind of blend into the background, and that suits me fine. And honestly, I'd rather the costumes work so well you don't notice them, as opposed to them being so distracting that they completely pull you out of the story, like in the new... No, I'm not going there. You can stream this version of Little Women on Amazon Prime. Alright, so this next one is one of my other favorite period drama series, and this one is The Paradise. I wish retail was still this beautiful. The fact that this show only got 2 seasons makes me so sad because I loved this world. The Paradise is owned by Mr. Murray, who grew the business from a small shop to England's first department store. Not based on reality, but that's okay. The series follows newest shopgirl Denise as she begins to work in ladies' wear and soon begins to shine as her ideas soon draw the attention of the owner. I know that sounds really simple, but it really is a charming show. I mean, it's just so beautiful. I mean, the store itself is so lovely and detailed. I wish stores were this elegant and beautiful in real life. I might enjoy shopping more if they were. It's just all overly trimmed and overly detailed wonderfulness. As for costumes, most of the nicer gowns are worn by the customers since the majority of the main cast are in the working class. Don't worry, her hair is only down in the first episode. That being said, I particularly like the shopgirl uniform. They're simple but stylish, and they're fitted beautifully. One member of the main cast is the richest lady in town, so she gets some nice gowns. And it's fun to see a difference between her soft at-home gowns versus her visiting the Paradise ensembles, which feel a little bit more like her version of a power suit. I don't care too much for her gowns, but I do like that she has her own go-to style. And there's a dress that she wears in season 2 that I absolutely love. Now there are a few adult themes in the Paradise, but nothing that should make you go diving for your smelling salts. I'd probably put this in like PG-13 territory. As I said before, this is one of my favorite shows, and it's one of my go-tos if I need some inspiration to get back in my sewing room. You can stream The Paradise on Amazon Prime, or you can buy it on Amazon or Google Play. It used to be on Netflix, so hopefully it'll come back someday. Okay, back to movies. This next one is A Room with a View. Now, this movie, as well as Anne of Green Gables, was what inspired our engagement photo shoot. When I told people that Room with a View was one of the inspirations, I either had people very excited because they loved the movie, or I had people who had never heard of it. Room with a View is based off the 1908 novel by E.M. Forster, who is the same author as Howard's End and A Passage to India. The first half of the movie takes place in Florence in the early 1900s. Lucy Honeychurch and her cousin/chaperone trade rooms with George Emerson and his father so they can have a room with a view. Lucy and George begin to become acquainted, but she returns to England where she becomes engaged to a character who deeply annoys me because I swear I've met guys like this in real life! Sorry. Anyway, George and Lucy eventually meet up again, and she has to start figuring out what she wants. This movie stars a 19-year-old Helena Bonham Carter, Julian Sands, Daniel J. Lewis, and Maggie Smith. Yes, we get to see Professor McGonagall acting as chaperone to Bellatrix Lestrange. There are also appearances by Rupert Graves and Judi Dench. How can you resist a cast like that? This movie is just gorgeous, which honestly shouldn't be surprising since it is a Merchant Ivory production. The costumes are just absolutely beautiful and so detailed. They make the pigeon breast silhouette look good. Seriously, every costume is something I wish I could wear. On top of that, the beautiful Italian setting for the first half of the movie is just lovely. Honestly, I love the sets for the England half of the movie as well. Now be warned, there is a scene of violence during the first half of the movie that kinda stuck with me. And there's also a scene with full frontal male nudity that I was not expecting the first time I watched it. The scene is harmless and it's played for laughs at the end, but if that's something that might bother you, maybe skip the lake scene. But other than that, watch this movie because it is gorgeous. A Room with a View is available to rent or buy on YouTube or Google Play. We have a lot of nice characters on this list, so let's switch things up real fast. My pick for number 11 is Mandy Fair. This is the most recent new to me series that we've watched. Neither Evan nor I knew anything about the source material going into this series. We hadn't read the 1848 novel by William Makepeace Thackeray or the various adaptations. And I gotta say, it was really refreshing to have a main character who is a terrible person. Terrible. It's like when we were watching it, I didn't necessarily want her to win, but I didn't want her to lose either. I honestly just wanted to see what happened. A Slytherin through and through, Becky Sharp is ambitious, cunning, and more concerned with self-preservation than being a good person. She's like if Mansfield Park was narrated from the point of view of Mary Crawford instead of Fanny Price. I'd watch that. I guess I did watch that. It's set between 1814 and 1832. The costumes and hair don't change as much as I would like. Still, it's a good series to watch if you want a break from these super good, polite heroines. Mandy Fair is available to stream on Amazon Prime. Oh, I can't end this list on 11. That's just awkward. I'll give you one more. Let's talk about Cranford. You might see some familiar faces on this box. Yes. This story is by Elizabeth Gaskell, who also wrote North and South, which you should totally watch if you haven't yet. But anyway, Cranford. Cranford. A sweet little town where a majority of the population consists of women of a certain age getting up to some quaint misadventures. Nothing bad can possibly happen here. Wrong! This show gave me trust issues. Past Mel from 6 years ago, almost to the date, can confirm this because I made a Facebook status just about how this show gave me trust issues. Yes, this show is mostly about a sweet little town where the majority of the population consists of women of a certain age getting up to some quaint misadventures. But other things happen too. Bad things. Cringy things. That being said, it's still a pretty wonderful miniseries. It's cozy. Like, you feel like you should be watching this under a blanket with a cup of tea. This show just has everything. It has humor, it has heartwarming moments, it has moments of heartbreak, and it has a wonderful cast led by Judi Dench. The series is set in the early 1840s, so you have the younger cast looking a bit more fashion forward, while the majority of the rest of the cast is dressed more in the 1830s or even the 1820s. Frilly caps are everywhere, and so are some of the most wonderfully over-the-top bonnets I've ever seen. The costuming is perfect. Honestly, even with the trust issues, this little series is just wonderful. And it has everything you can possibly want from a series like this. Cranford can be streamed on BritBox, or it can be bought on Amazon. Now I just want to watch all the things. I hope you liked my suggestions. If you have any suggestions of your own you'd like to make, or if I happen to list any of your favorites, please feel free to let me know in the comments. I would really love to hear what you have to say. Oh, and if you're interested in any more costume drama related videos, let me know, because I have ideas. In the meantime, make sure you hit that subscribe button below so that you know when my next video gets posted. And I'm sure we're all really tired of hearing this, but stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, and stay inside. And I hope that these costume dramas help you stay happy as well. I'll see you soon. Bye!